Good morning to all of you. So today we will
Doctor, good morning,
good,
doctor.
good morning. Good morning.
You did not send the recorder.
I'm sorry. This video file now. All the video files are very large. It's not getting uploaded in this module. So how I can send you all the file? Any idea?
Through email. Through email, doctor.
Okay.
Through emails.
So I will send all of you email through email all the video I have. Okay.
Okay.
In the module,
Thank you, doctor.
yeah, in the module it's not getting uploaded. I tried all the videos, but okay. So still we have all the videos. So at any time I can send to all of you, and we'll start with here the microbial pathogenesis. Last time we learn how they enter into our body and how there are a few uh, good microbiota and there are some bad microbiota, and what is the benefit of good microbiota we did able to learn from last lecturer, and about the bad microbiota we will proceed ahead here with that is called microbial pathogenesis. They called diseases in our body, these bad microbes. So how it happens, you see here, when any bacteria or virus we come in contact with any pathogenic bacteria or virus, they first come in contact with our skin, this skin outer surface, or we inhale, or in the buccal cavity or mouth, it come in contact with mucus. I mean this inner muscle or buccal cavity or mucosa layer, or sometimes when we receive uh, bacteria through this nose or nostril, it directly go to our respiratory system and it infect our this lungs. Then what they do once they attach to the skin or any surface of our body, they start to yeah, invasion our tissue, and they come across this epithelium, the epithelial layer of our body, and they try to get inside. You can see this is the bacteria or this microflora, and they adhere to the epidermis. Here it is. Then it get invasion and enter into the tissue layer through the epithelium. Now what they do, they are very clever because they enter in inside this epithelium and start to grow over there, and they will not do grow here the epithelium because they will not get proper mineral nutrient from the body, and they will not get the carbohydrate, protein and lipid content from the body very properly if they will grow in the upper surface. So always they try to come in the inside the tissue, and they get all the mineral nutrient and all supporting factor, and they start growing there. And what they do, they produce their virulence factor, the factor that they release to the environment. The bacteria that releases this different chemical to this outside environment, we call that as virulence factor, and this factor sometimes degrade the cell and uh, act as signaling molecule, and they create hyper response in our body. And when this hyper response happens, we get allergy, and we get a lot of this fever in our body, because our body try to kill this virulence factor or kill this bacteria by increasing the temperature. Therefore, we get a lot of immune responses. So once they enter into this tissue layer, the invasive nerves again they extend this invasive nerve further, and still they grow at the original site, and they spread to other site as well. So they stay in the original site, and they spread their growth to other site of the tissue layer or our body as well. Again, when they grow more, again further exposure it happens, the cycle continue, because if these are the bacteria and they are growing more and more, some are getting released outside, and these bacteria again infecting new person, and the same procedure is going on. And this virulence factor, they cause the toxicity in our body or in our tissue, and this toxin can be produced local, or they can be systemic. So the toxin they produce, it acts on this site, or can be mixed with the blood or our vascular tissue, and go to the other part of the body, and make us problem. Make us problem means this tissue damage, or this toxin are very dangerous, role of toxin. So what is virulence? Virulence is the relative ability of an organism to cause disease. So virulence is the relative ability. Relative, you understand the term relative. It is not absolute. Absolute means fixed. For example, now we have here in our world, we are suffering with coronavirus. So the potential of coronavirus to do disease is relative. It's not absolute. Everybody, corona cannot kill everybody, or cannot make a disease in everybody. And that is why we call it a relative. And you people must have heard the name special theory of relativity, that is given by Einstein. In this world, or in this universe, you can say nothing is absolute. Nothing is absolute. Even one is not absolute one. Zero is not absolute zero. These are always in decimal and continuous number. But for our own understanding, we call it as an absolute thing. But in reality, everything is relative. So even someone is infected with any bacteria or virus, it is not guaranteed that that person will develop a disease and he or she will suffer from this virulence. So this is the relative ability of an organism to cause disease. So this is called virulence. And how virulence happens, because these bacteria, virus, and these pollen grains are released by different plants. These are foreign particles for us, a human or other organism, and these foreign particles are act as antigens. And when we study this in the context of bacteria, this virulence is caused by the release of toxins by bacteria. So this bacteria, whatever they release to their outside environment, those are usually not good for the host or the person to whom they have infected. They are always very bad for us.
Excuse me, doctor.
Yes.
Can you please remove that headphone because your voice is not clear? Thank you.
So now you can get it clearly?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. So this virulence is caused by the toxicity and by excessive growth, invasiveness at a particular tissue or particular site, or you can say in both. So how much a bacteria or virus has infected. So the invasiveness, if they have infected very high, the toxicity will also be very high, and in that case it will be very bad for the organism, or it's very bad for the host or the human to deal with, and that is really make a problem. And how we can measure the virulence of, for example, a virus infection or fungi infection or bacteria infection. It is the amount of bacteria or pathogenic organism required to initiate a disease, and that is called as virulence. If someone will get exposure with some number of bacteria, they may not develop disease because your body will kill them immediately. But if the limit, the number or dose of those bacteria or virus is little bit higher, it will initiate disease in the body, because our cell will fail to kill or neutralize all the bacteria or virus at a time. Therefore, it will initiate a disease and can be called as the virulence factor. And so there is always a specific dose of a pathogenic organism is required to develop a disease, and we call this is a virulence. High virulence bacteria can cause disease starting from low number of encountered bacteria. Sometimes some bacteria, even if you encounter with very few number, they can develop a disease because their virulence ability is very high, and our body not able to neutralize them. Therefore, some bacteria have a very high virulence factor, and those kind of bacteria are very dangerous for us. And but this low virulence bacteria need to be administered in large amounts to cause disease. Okay, so the virulence factor is totally, you can say in a particular term is the dosage the number or the concentration like this, and the number it required to develop a disease. And in this a medical term or in a bacteriological term, we call it virulence. But in general, you can say it's a specific concentration or specific dose required to develop a disease. You see how we can measure the virulence. So in the animal experiment, for example, we gave here 10 bacteria, injected 10 bacteria to mouse model organism, and from 6, the 5 are surviving, 1 is get died. If we are injecting with 1,000 bacteria, 2 are getting died and 4 are alive. And if we are increasing further, it is 10,000. Only 1 is remain alive and 5 are getting died. So you see, as we go increasing the dose or number of bacteria, the pathogenicity getting increased and it's killing this model mouse. So this is like this. So you number of injected bacteria per mouse. So as you increase, the virulence factor get increased. So the number or this injected bacteria, as it will go increase, the percentage will go increase in this direction. So how virulence can be measured? Virulence can be estimated in a term that is called LD50. That LD means lethal dose. You can find in any description or
Doctor, excuse me, can you repeat the previous?
Yes.
Can you repeat previous slide?
Okay. Okay, please. So this virulence dose, I mean, as you increase the concentration or number of bacteria in the injection, the lethality of the bacteria or virulence of the bacteria get increased. Here you see there is only 10. This is just for example for your understanding purpose. Okay. So if there are 10 bacteria injected and from 6 1 is dead, and from when it's 1,000 bacteria, you can see 2 are getting died, and when it increasing further, only 1 is remain alive and 5 are getting died. So as we increasing the concentration of the bacteria or virulence factor, the survivability of the model organism is very less. So here in a plot you can say, you can plot like this. If you do any experiment like this, as you will increase the concentration, this survivability will be very less. In 10, what will be the percentage from here? You can plot the percentage here. It will be like this. So in graphically you can present this data like, and
Doctor, that's mean when increase injected bacteria, increase the mice die?
yes. So this is as the virulence factor increase, the lethality will also get increased. Okay. And this measurement of virulence is just explained in the term of lethal dose 50. We call it LD50. So how you can measure the virulence? The virulence can be estimated from experimental studies of the LD50 lethal dose. So what is LD50? LD50 is the number of cells required to kill 50% of experimental animals. So if you are running an experiment and injecting one chemical to experimental animal, for example, mouse or something, and it requires cell culture experiment also you can see. So LD50 is the number of cells required to kill of the experimental animal. So you need to put dose to such an extent that at least 50% of the cell from the population or 50% of the experimental animal will be die on that particular dose. So you have to find out those dose, and when people do experiment, they find out this dose by giving a different concentration. So if you are increasing the concentration at which 50% of the experimental animal is getting died, or 50% of the experimental cells getting killed, we call that dose is the lethal dose. Okay.
Doctor, if the concentration does 16 or 17, what happened? Or less than 50?
See, actually, always chemical is not good, is not it? So, what is the basic idea always? To use minimum chemical. If a very small quantity of chemical can kill the pathogenic organism, why you will take more? Okay. So that is why it is always we prefer this LD50 is preferred, because in one dose if 50% is getting killed, in two dose 100% will be killed. So you need not have to take more medicine. But if you think we will put LD100 so that immediately 100% will be die, is not it? But if you will think our body also will subject to this chemical, and if our body cannot tolerate this chemical, it will kill us ourselves rather than killing these microbes. Okay. So it is always tried for the safe side to considering the safe side of a human organism, so that that medicine bring very less effect or side effect to us. That's why we consider always is LD50 is the best choice. And as we already explained, a different pathogenic bacteria have different LD50 value. So all the bacteria or all the pathogenic organism cannot have same LD50 value. Some bacteria is having very high pathogenicity or virulence compared to the others, and some need very high doses to bring this virulence factor. So there is always a different LD50 values. So LD50 value is not fixed for anything. So it is always vary for organism to organism. But always it should be always in our mind that the dose, if we put the dose, at least 50% of the cell or experimental animal should be killed. Here you can see for highly virulent organism, that is called Streptococcus pneumoniae. If there are 10 to the power 2 number of organism is there, it can generate a virulence. But in the case of Salmonella typhimurium, you see at least 10 to the power 6 or 10 to the power 5 to 10 to the power 6 number of cells required in a human body to develop a salmonella disease. But if we will inject only 10 square means it's 100. Okay, when if we 100 inject around 100 streptococcus pneumonia bacteria in our body, we will develop disease. So 100 streptococcus pneumonia bacteria is sufficient to develop disease in our body, and this is 10 to the power 6, quite large number. So for a Salmonella typhimurium, we need 10 to the power 6 number of cells to develop virulence in human body. So we have already discussed this. So and there you can see, as you discussed, Streptococcus pneumonia is more virulent than Salmonella typhimurium. This is because only few pneumonia cells can kill infected mice. So this is this graph is based on mice experiment. The LD50 of S pneumonia is much lower than the LD50 of S typhimurium. So lethal dose of S pneumonia is much lower than, it's 10 to the power 2 and is 10 to the power 6. So what is virulence factors? Virulence factors, as we already are discussing from several times, that this bacteria produce the virulence factor to enable them to colonize and grow in the tissue, including the toxin, capsules, and molecules that help bacteria to attach the surface. So bacteria first need to attach the mucosal surface or epidermal surface before it enter into the cell. And once it attached, it releases some toxins and other molecules that help bacteria to attach the surface as well. If the bacteria don't have any molecule in its outer surface, after it comes in contact into the epidermal layer, it start to release some molecule, and that helps to attach into the body. Dear students, please put your this ID number for your attendance, and those who have not provided, please put your ID number. And the most virulent factors are enzymes. Enzymes and secreted by the bacteria to digest the intracellular tissue. So the bacteria always release different enzymes into our outer surface of its cell, and these enzymes digest the tissue or intracellular tissue so that it can enter into the cell. It will digest our cell, it will make a hole in our cell by digesting our cell, and it will enter into our tissues. And these enzymes include protease, nuclease, and lipases. So enzymes, these enzymes are protease, nuclease, and lipase. So what is protease do? Protease is an enzyme that degrade the protein. Okay. So every every cell has this protein or tissue are made up of different proteins. So when bacteria release release the protease enzyme to outside, this protease enzyme come in contact with this protein molecule and they degrade the protein molecule. So if it will release this protease enzyme and our cell membrane contain these lipoproteins, there is lipids and proteins in our cell membrane. So it once it release this protease enzyme degrade the protein molecule of our cell membrane and make it make it whole or digest our cell membrane. So once it digests the cell membrane, it exerts this whole and it enter into the cell again. Then what they also do? They also do releases nuclease enzyme. So inside our cell there are messenger RNA in our cytoplasm, and they release this nuclease enzyme and degrade our messenger RNA. So when they degrade our messenger RNA and tRNA and some DNA in the cytoplasm, it is very dangerous for the cell. So they completely destroy our system, because this nuclease enzyme break down the nucleic acid. It is DNA or RNA, and once they break down this nucleic acid, again they attack on the lipid molecule also. So the enzyme that break down the protein molecule are called protease. Those break down the nucleic acid, either that is DNA or RNA, called is nuclease, and those degrade the lipid molecule are called lipases. Okay, so different bacteria release different kind of this enzyme. All the bacteria may not be releasing all the enzymes, but depending upon their target, which bacteria target which cell or which tissue. For example, some bacteria grow in this bone, so they need to release strong enzyme so that they can degrade the bone. Some bacteria grow in this blood cells, so they need to release such kind of protein enzyme so that they can enter into the blood cells like this. And one kind of enzyme secretion by them is sufficient enough to make us problem. The bacteria, so when it they release protease, they break down the protein, and when they release lipases, they break down the lipid, and when they release nucleases, they break down the nucleic acid, that is DNA and RNA. So once this bacteria come in contact with our body and they started multiplying inside the tissue, they releases different kind of toxins. These enzymes we studied in the previous slide also comes in a group of toxin. You can say them as also toxin because they are bad for us always. And sometimes these toxins are classified in two categories. One is exotoxin and one is endotoxin. So exotoxin means you can see this bacteria releasing it to outside. Okay. So exo means outside, endo means inside. So this is simple. And so the bacteria, those bacteria which release the toxin to outer environment, these toxins are called exotoxin. But the bacteria making the toxin, but they are still inside them, inside their cell. These are called endotoxin. So how these exotoxin and these endotoxin make difference and make us problem? So you see, when bacteria will grow and release exotoxin, these exotoxin will mix in the blood and our all body system also, and will make us problem. But when this endotoxin will work, for example, we are having some rotten foods, the degraded foods, we don't know. We went some restaurant and we ask for food, and they given some old foods. In the old foods, there will be bacterial growth. We don't know whether they have produced exotoxin or endotoxin, but in the majority of cases, when we eat those kind of foods, we eat those bacteria with the food, and those bacteria go to our stomach. In our stomach, this bacteria, our stomach try to digest this bacteria also. So when it digests the bacteria, these all molecules get released into the stomach, and through intestine, again these molecules enter into our bloodstream and make us problem. Okay, and on that case also, in the food there could be also exotoxin as well. And when we eat this either exotoxin or endotoxin, it is always make us problem. But the endotoxin and exotoxin are always bad for us. And what are the chemical properties of these exotoxin and endotoxins? These exotoxin proteins are excreted by gram-positive bacteria and gram-negative bacteria. Both gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria do release exotoxin. And a lipopolysaccharide lipoprotein complex release on cell lysis. So as I told this, when this cell will get damaged or digested, this endotoxin will be released, and these are usually lipopolysaccharides. Lipo means lipid, and polysaccharides mean carbohydrate. So there will be molecules, okay, lipid and carbohydrate kind of molecules. Sometimes lipid and protein complexes as well. These endotoxins are. Stability. These exotoxin, if you will put little bit of temperature, they will you can possibly damage them or degrade them. So they are heat labile. But these endotoxins are heat resistant. If you will put high temperature, even you cannot destroy these endotoxin. And mode of action. These are very specific. So these exotoxin are very specific. Once they are released into the outer environment, they come in contact with our bloodstream and move to different part of the cell and body and bind by the receptor molecule of the cell. So do you know what is receptor molecule? Do anybody know what is
Receptors?
Do you anybody know what
Yes.
is receptor molecule?
Yes, we know receptors.
Okay, that's good. Those who don't know how, you can see. For example, this is a toxin. This is the receptor molecule. So this receptor molecule will. Thank you.
This guy, you know, poisonous or not?
We'll check. Yes, thank you. So this it will this is exotoxin, and this is the receptor molecule of the cell. It will see this receptor molecule will receive this toxin, and it will insert into our cell and make us problem. And this receptor molecule You see, this is corona, and this is the receptor molecule. So this molecule get attached here, and it enter into the human cell membrane. So these bacteria are very clever. They they release and they make such kind of molecule that it will fix with our own receptor molecule, so that they will make us problem. And these endotoxin are not so much specific for receptor, and they cause fever and diarrhea and vomiting, all these things, you know. And these exotoxin are highly toxic and sometimes fatal. They can kill the organism. And these are all endotoxin are also very bad and lethal sometimes, but they are relatively less toxic than exotoxin. And the fever potential, this exotoxin do not produce fever in the host, and often this induce fever in the host. Why they don't produce fever in the host?
Because it go out.
Sorry?
Because it go out.
No. Because bacteria or they make us full, right? See, we think it is for good. This is the bacterial exotoxin, and it is receiving in our cell. Our cell think that this is good, and let's take it inside. So this bacteria make us full and make full to our receptor molecule. So when our receptor molecule and our system get full, they don't want to neutralize this. That's why body don't induce any temperature in our body to neutralize this molecule. So they don't produce fever, and that's why these exotoxin are very dangerous. Okay. So I think I should stop here today, because it will be otherwise very
Yes, Doctor.
high dose for you, because these are today there are some new technical terms, and if I will teach you more, I think it will be difficult for you to digest.
Doctor, excuse me, when will be the midterm one?
You just had your this first quiz, no? Why you are sorry?
After holiday will be, yes, Doctor? After holiday?
After holiday means you are telling about this our
After week 9.
maybe may not be after holiday, because it's a long time, I think. So I will discuss. I told you last time that I will discuss, and I will update, and a lot of things go with parallel. So up to which extent I should teach, and then I should conduct the conduct this midterm, and I think you have 2 quiz also. You have to appear another quiz, right? There are 2 quiz.
Yes. Doctor, you take the better mark or Valo?
Sorry?
From the quiz, you take a better mark or sum all of them and divide by 2? For quiz,
I think university system will calculate automatically. I need not have to calculate. Because I was looking here.
so will you take the average from 2 quiz?
Yeah, I think. And last time I was looking These are automatically included in our this grade.
Okay, doctor.
So maybe I need not have to do anything. This will automatically get calculated to your grades.
So exactly in which day for midterm? Midterm
Midterm.
one.
No, I don't have idea now. Okay. So just focus on your this study what I'm teaching. You know everything will be done during the semester. Your midterm, your final exam, your quiz, everything will be done in this specific time period. So don't be more concerned about your exam. Be more concerned about your this study what I am teaching you. Okay. So please put your attendance, those who have not given till now. So please put your ID number.